One Question is brought to you by Turnkey Search, a top industry search firm since 1996. Andrew Miller with the Post and Courier out of Charleston. Going to talk a little bit about the CofC Athletic Director opening, or a job that will be open come the turn of the calendar, with Joe Hull exiting the Cougars program after a number of years of leadership. And Andrew, I think I would like to start by simply asking you to give us some background on your view in terms of the health of the overall athletic department there at CofC.
Well, I think that's a really interesting question, and I think if you asked 10 different people, you'd probably get 10 different answers. I think if you talk to some, the move to the CAA from the Southern Conference to the Colonial Athletic Association has been, I think early on there was lots of skepticism about it, but now I think as kind of people have sunk into what the league is, what it represents, the recruiting base that they've been able to expand from where they were, which is basically a southeastern regional athletic department. Now it's an East Coast athletic department, in my opinion, because you've opened up markets in Boston and New York and Philadelphia and the Washington, D.C., Baltimore area with the teams that go up and down the East Coast. I think if you're a traditionalist like me, you wish they would have stayed in the Southern Conference because you're familiar with these rivalries, you're familiar with these schools, and I think that generates some excitement within the fan base. But if you look at what the athletic department has done and the kind of the quality of their athletes has gone up, I think, pretty significantly since the move to the CAA. I think you got to like what you see because you're getting better players, you're playing against better teams, and this is across the board. This is not just in basketball, but it's in every sport that they play. Maybe the only sport where the Southern Conference was a little bit stronger than the CAA was in baseball, but I think even that now, with the emergence of UNC Wilmington and James Madison, has always been a pretty good team. And for college, I think they're comparable to the Southern Conference, but that kind of plays into where the athletic department is. And I think before Joe got there, in my opinion, it was kind of a high school athletic department, and that's the way they kind of viewed themselves, as kind of a high school on steroids. There was not a lot of professionalism within the College of Charleston's athletic department. I think Joe brought some professionalism to the job that was sorely needed. Now, are they running a deficit because of the travel? Yes. Are they getting the revenue that they hoped they would generate by moving from the SoCon to the CAA? No. They're still going to operate in the red. I think that's one of the reasons that Joe got let go or not re-signed for a contract extension. So there are things that they need to work on. There's certainly some facilities that they need to upgrade to kind of, their infrastructure needs to be upgraded so they can kind of catch up with the rest of the CAA. But I think from a competitive standpoint, I think from an exposure standpoint, the move to the CAA and the athletic department in general has taken a couple strides forward since in the last couple of years.
How significant is men's basketball's turmoil over the last couple of years? And we know how Doug Wojcik exited. They haven't been certainly to the level of success that they were years ago. Is that one pivotal point of the overall department when we talk about finances that has to be figured out? And is it on the right track?
Absolutely. It is the flagship program within the College of Charleston's athletic department. There's no question about it. Basketball is the number one sport. If there's any sport that can generate any revenue, it's basketball. They certainly haven't been on the map like they had been under John Crescent, really to a certain degree under Bobby Crimmins. Although if you look at what Bobby Crimmins did, he took them to the NIT a couple of times, but they really were never able to get to the NCAA tournament. And I thought there were a couple of years when they played in the SoCon that they were probably the best team in that league and still were unable to get that ticket to the dance, as they say. I think since they have hired Earl Grant, and you see the kind of recruiting job that he has done, I think they are on the verge of really becoming a force again within mid-major basketball. Last year, without really three of their top scorers, Kenyon Berry left. He got an injured shoulder in January, but Grant Riller and Joe Keeley, two guys who were going to start for them, didn't play. So you take those three guys out of the equation, They play UNCW tough all 3 times they played them. They almost beat them in the CAA tournament, and they're your 2-time defending CAA champions. I think they got to be among the CAA's favorites to win the league this year. And the tournament is going to be held for the next 3 years in Charleston, which obviously gives them a little bit of an advantage down here. So I think things are really turning around for them on the floor. Earl has been a great ambassador for not only the program, but for the entire athletic department. So, yeah, I think they're definitely moving in the right direction.
You've covered this AD hire process as much as it can be so far. So let's recount where we've been. We know there's going to be an internal search committee. Do we know a timeline yet?
Yeah, I don't. I thought, to be honest with you, that they haven't started the interview processes yet. And this was the information I have was up until this past week. So maybe something has changed this week that I don't know about. But as far as I know, they haven't really started any kind of formal interview process or any kind of meetings on who to even bring in for interviews. There have been some informal meetings and some informal discussions within the committee, I know, but I don't think anything formally has been done as far as I know. I don't think that they're going to have anybody in place until after Joe leaves, and it wouldn't surprise me that it takes them to next summer, because the end of the fiscal year will be, I think, June 30th. And I think what they're hoping is that they'll have somebody in place, July 1st. So they'll have named somebody April, May, June, and then have somebody in place in July. And I would think that they would have an interim, somebody within the department, the athletic department, be an interim AD for at least, 5 or 6 months.
Given what you described as the state of the department, the importance of men's basketball, and you've been in the marketplace for a number of years, is there a particular skill set that in your view is most needed right now for College of Charleston?
Yeah, you got to be a fundraiser. There's absolutely no question about it. There are things, again, infrastructure-wise, that the college needs to get done. And one of the things that they absolutely have to get done is they have to improve the facility in Patriots Point, which is in Mount Pleasant, which is, for people unfamiliar with it, is across the bridge, across the Cooper River, from downtown into Mount Pleasant. That's where they play soccer. That's where they play baseball and softball, and also tennis as well. So it's a pretty big facility, but it hasn't been upgraded in a number of years. And one of the things that they're planning on doing is building, and you get different kind of variations with this when you talk to people down at the College of Charleston, but anywhere from a 5,000 to a 20,000 square foot facility that will be kind of the cornerstone of what they do at Patriots Point. It'll include locker rooms, it'll include training rooms, it'll include classrooms, and it'll be a 2 or 3 story structure that will kind of be the centerpiece of the athletic department over in Mount Pleasant, where all these teams play their games. So the person who comes in, they have to be able to fundraise, because this is a capital project that they absolutely have to get done to kind of take that next step and to catch up with a lot of the schools in the CAA. So I think that is number one. You've got to tap into this market. When I look around basketball games and I see the people that come there, I would say the vast majority of them, 60%, maybe 70%, had no connection to the College of Charleston. They didn't go there. None of their kids went there, but they live downtown and they like going to see good college basketball. So you got to tap into that market, and there's plenty of money out there to be had. But Joe's done some good things as far as fundraising goes, and getting the Cougar Club up and running and being more professional. But they still got a long ways to go to be something like the Citadel's Brigadier Club. And so I think those are things that fundraising has to be number one. And then you got to have a vision. You got to have a vision for where you want the College of Charleston Athletic Department to go. And I think sometimes Joe has been kind of all over the map as far as that's concerned. And I don't know if that's all his fault or if it's the administration's fault or whose it is, but there have been times when I feel like he's been a little unfocused. And like I said, that might not be his fault. It might be the administration's fault, but somebody's got to come in with a clear vision and then follow through with that vision.
And for those of us in the industry who certainly know the CofC Athletics brand, educate us on the marketplace there in Charleston. You mentioned a percentage of those who come to men's basketball game live downtown and just want to see, good college basketball. And if memory serves me correct, like the per square footage cost of homes down there in downtown is extremely high. So paint us a picture of what the marketplace in Charleston is like when you talk about going out and earning the support of certain constituents and donors.
Yeah, and I think that's interesting because you think of Charleston as this old southern city, and certainly when I moved here in 1989, that's exactly the way it was. People south of Broad had lived there for generations. It's a really old city. But I think and I've been here, this will be my 27th year at the newspaper, really the influx of people from the north, these northern agitators come in, as a joke there. But these, it's become much more diversified as far as the people that live downtown that have that disposable income that can go watch games. And it's kind of a hodgepodge of people from the Northeast, people from the Midwest. We don't get many people from out west, but mainly it's from that Rust Belt corridor in the Northeast, and then in the Midwest, Ohio. A lot of people have transplanted here from Ohio, so they're people with really no discernible ties to the local community in the College of Charleston, but again, like to see good college basketball, and certainly over the years, the college has been able to provide that for them. When Bobby Crimmins really had it going here, he'd get really good sized crowds, 3,000-4,000, sometimes 5,000. I think the place holds about 5,600. And then they played in the NIT. I remember they played Dayton in the NIT one year, and that place sold out, and the electricity was unbelievable. They beat North Carolina here, and I think that's what people want to see. They want to see good basketball, and they played LSU last year, obviously, and they had Ben Simmons come in from LSU. The place was really hopping, and you want to get those college kids in here. But again, I think the untapped potential of the college and of this kind of downtown area is these people who want to see good college athletics, good college basketball, and are willing to put their money where their mouth is. And the new AD's got to be able to recognize those people and get those people on board to help them do the things that they need to be done.
The one question I always like to close with when it comes to you guys and gals who cover these types of developments, because you all thrive on when there's a surprise in these types of processes, whether it be a basketball hire or football hire, depending on your marketplace, or an AD hire. So let's close with what would or could surprise you in the process for College of Charleston hiring a new AD.
Well, I think that one thing that would surprise me is what I think is going to happen, and what I hope happens, but Glenn McConnell, the president there, doesn't always do what you expect him to do. I would hope that he would hire a young AD, and by young I mean late 30s to mid 40s at the very oldest, somebody who's been at a major university. And I know Joe Holt kind of fit that criteria as well, but somebody young who has kind of a track record of dealing with, being a fundraiser, a guy who can be an administrator, and somebody who's kind of tapped into, millennials isn't the right word that I'm looking for, but, social media, kind of knows how to market the program and get the word out there to the community. So I think if they hired an older person, I would be surprised. Somebody, I mean older by, I'm 50, so anybody older than me, I would be surprised if they hired somebody like that. What I don't think is they need a retread. They don't need, Bobby Crimmins took John Kress's place. Bobby Crimmins is a national name, a national brand. Did a really good job in some areas, but I thought in other areas he came up a bit short. So I don't expect them to hire somebody who's older, who's kind of stuck in their ways, who's looking for Charleston to be kind of their final place, if that makes any sense. That this is where they're going to retire. They want to come here and work for 4 or 5 years and then retire in Charleston. And that would surprise me if something like that happened. I think they want a younger individual who's looking to move up and use it as maybe a stepping stone to a job at a Power 5 conference, because I think those are the kind of people that you want. You want somebody who's ambitious, who has vision, who's young, who's energetic, who can raise money, and maybe use this as a stepping stone to getting a bigger job, which is what you want, because you're at the mid-major level, and in a way you're kind of a training ground for some of these bigger schools. So, and then there are a couple people that I know have been on the short list to kind of fit that criteria. So I'm hoping that's the way they go, and I think that's the way they will go.
And that's today's One Question, brought to you by Turnkey Search, a top industry search firm since 1996. One Question is designed to give D1 Ticker subscribers valuable insights on how executive leaders in college athletics think about key issues on their respective campuses, in their departments, or within their leagues and conferences. One Question is brought to you by Turnkey Search, a top industry search firm since 1996.